If I could sit down with the woman I was 10 years ago, just starting out on learning how to ride motorcycles, this is what I'd tell myself. 2025 is a very special year for me, not only because I feel like I am coming into a much more confident version of myself as a motorcyclist, but I also am celebrating 10 years on two wheels this year. A quick little backstory: in, let's say, what was it? I think it was July of 2015. I was a newlywed. I owned my own home. I was thriving in my career, and I took the very spontaneous decision to learn how to ride motorcycles. Now, unlike many other people, women especially, I did not have a background with two wheels. I was not raised around other motorcyclists. I don't have a mega history with motorcycles. Really, the past 10 years have been all of the exposure to motorcycles in my lifetime. So that being said, I came into this world, this lifestyle, this incredible community, completely blind. So these are some of the tips and topics that I would tell myself 10 years ago, and hopefully some of you guys can relate to it. I do have a feeling 2025 is going to see a massive influx of new riders, and that makes me very excited. The first lesson, the first thing I would tell myself 10 years ago is you really don't have anything to prove. The real honest truth of why I ended up buying my first motorcycle and getting into riding is because I started thinking about it. Once I decided I wanted to learn something new, I thought I would just learn how to ride and have that knowledge in the back of my head, you know, kind of like a fun fact, like, oh, I know how to ride a motorcycle. That was not the case. As soon as I actually started imagining myself on two wheels and traveling and riding to coffee with my friends, it completely consumed me. And so I had this kind of unrealistic expectation in my mind that I was just going to be this wild and free spirit the second I hopped on a motorcycle. I took a lot of inspiration from social media, as I think a lot of us do now. And I will say social media 10 years ago is completely different than social media today. It was a lot more romanticized back then, I feel like, and today it's just fake as hell, honestly. And I really just want you guys to know that what you see on social media is very, very, very small clippets of what people are actually experiencing in real life. I do think YouTube is a bit better at that. I think the long form videos that you guys see convey a sense of struggle or accomplishment or the honest truth of what people are going through in their lives versus a 60-second short on other forms of consumption social media. So I will say you have nothing to prove. I immediately started comparing myself to other people, women especially, who had been riding 5+ years, 7+ years, and it immediately made me feel inadequate. And once again, I have never been on a motorcycle in my life up until I was 26 years old. And then I randomly decided to learn. So I started comparing myself to these other people who have been on two wheels since they could walk. And it was defeating for the first couple years of seeing what some of these people could already go out and do and their confidence levels and their skill level. And I was too scared to give it a go. I will say, if you guys are just starting out and you feel like you're ready to take on the world, by all means, go do it, try it, see what you can do. I was too scared. I feel like I held myself back a lot longer than I should have because I was I'm hyper aware of my mortality, I guess you can say. And yeah, that being said, I'm going to give you guys my honest opinions on the things I wish I knew 10 years ago. But please, if you're feeling like I didn't say something that you would like to say to a new rider, or something that you wish you could have told yourself or had somebody tell you when you started riding, leave a comment down below. This is an open conversation. So the first thing, don't feel like you have anything to prove. You're going to get there in your own time, and 100% it's going to be the right time when you get there. This next one is probably going to be a little cheesy, but I really do believe in embracing the journey and not so much the destination. Kind of going back into the first subject, I found myself not enjoying the learning aspect of riding a motorcycle. I found it tedious, infuriating. If you guys don't know, when I did take my motorcycle safety foundation class back in 2015, I failed the class because I was unprepared. I didn't know there was a test. I didn't fail because I couldn't ride. I failed because I got test anxiety and basically just went into full shutdown and performed terribly. So motorcycling and your mental state are completely tied together. Do you know how sometimes when you're driving a four-wheeled vehicle and you're on autopilot, you kind of like zone out and then you come back into consciousness and you're like, how did I get here? You can also do that on two wheels. It is terrifying when it happens, but back when I was first learning how to ride, I really truly used to tell people, like, if you are not in a good mental state, do not hop on your motorcycle. And there's a constant argument of other people saying, like, this is where I find my mental clarity. This is where I get my therapy, yada, yada, yada. I do not disagree with you. But I feel like when you are in the very, very beginning phases of learning how to ride, you have so much other stuff going on in your mind while you're learning to operate a manual transmission vehicle that you have to balance. It's different. If you are in that awkward phase, and I will say I've seen a lot of you guys who are in that awkward phase currently because you've been watching my older videos about talking how to overcome fear and anxiety. If you are in that awkward phase, just do it. Get through it. Feel the embarrassment. Feel the things that you made a mistake on and reflect on why you made that mistake. It's okay. We all make mistakes. Every single person who has ever ridden on a motorcycle will tell you that they have made a mistake. And as long as it doesn't cost you your life, it's a learning experience. So embrace the journey that you are at now, the point in your journey. If that's learning, have fun learning, because it's going to be with you for a long time and you're going to be able to look back and reflect on this experience. If you are at the part of your journey where you're starting to venture out, but you're getting a little nervous on solo travel or long distance riding, just enjoy it. It really doesn't matter what's at the other end of the journey that you're working through right now. It's that you just really enjoy and reflect on the moments that you're spending on two wheels currently. For me personally, and this is why I would go back and tell myself that, is once again, I constantly found myself comparing myself to people who had the experience. Like, you gotta pay your dues, you gotta do the time, you gotta practice, you gotta get those miles under your belt. And until you finally feel a sense of confidence with doing that portion of it, you're always gonna feel like you're being left behind or you're not getting to your destination. So enjoy the moment that you're in right now, because it goes by really fast. It is crazy to think that I'm sitting here talking about what I've learned in the past 10 years of riding a motorcycle. And by all means, please take this with a grain of salt. I'm not a professional at all. Please, God, don't ever think that. I'm not a professional. Everything that I have learned over the past 10 years has been through opportunities, trials and failures, and experiments. And it really does just come down to experience. Got to put in the miles. Something else I wish I would have told myself 10 years ago or had somebody tell me is community actually matters more than what you think it does. Especially in the two-wheeled world, community is part of the reason people continue to ride motorcycles throughout their entire life. It is a community. Like I've said it in hundreds of other videos, it's like you might be on your own motorcycle, taking your own journey in your own helmet, the exact same time somebody else is, but you're all having your own individual experience that at the end of the day you share as a collective. So when I very first started riding, I felt like I didn't have a sense of community because the people that were in my immediate area of their experience of riding a motorcycle, I 100% could not relate to. I was very young. I was in my mid-20s, and most of the people I was riding with was maybe in their 40s or 50s. And I still, to this day, I ride with people significantly older than me, younger than me. Like, that has never been an issue. I will ride with anybody. But we were just at different parts of our lives where a lot of the people were that traditional, like, biker. You know what I'm saying? Like, the bar hopper biker, the people that don't wear helmets, or the people that make fun of you for your choice in gear. I was just having a conversation with somebody about this yesterday. I have been ridiculed my entire 10 years of riding motorcycles because of my choice of preparedness or gear safety, which, first of all, to make fun of anybody who chooses to wear a helmet is just awful. Don't do that. It's terrible. I had people tell me that don't wear a helmet because it only hurts for a second. Dead serious. I'm not making this up. And so of course I clap back and I'm like, it only hurts for a second if you're lucky. Community does matter. Surround yourself with people who are relevant to your cause, who have your back, who want to see the best for you, and are there to help guide you on the path that you might be taking on two wheels. You might think that because you want to ride a cruiser, you can't ride with sport bike people, or you can't ride with adventure motorcyclists, and hands down, that's not the case. Facebook and social media have come very far in the past 10 years, and there are social groups that you can find online, find other people who have a similar riding style to yours. Even if you're like me and you prefer solo travel and solo motorcycling, there are people out there who also enjoy that. I actually have friends who we ride solo a lot, and we'll ride up into a destination and meet up together. So community is very important, and I think it's the thing that really keeps people coming back for events, experiences, rallies, stuff like that. So don't take your community for granted, and if you find yourself surrounded by people that are not suitable to your needs, you don't have to get rid of them. I still see the people that I used to ride with 10 years ago. I just don't ride with them. So this next one isn't really something that I wish somebody would have told me when I very first started riding, because that was a spontaneous decision on my end. But I will say I wish I could go back and tell myself after I bought my first motorcycle to don't wait for the right moment. The right moment rarely ever comes for those of us who have a big life decision. So for example, buying that dream house, having children, asking that girl to marry you, you might think there are right moments for that to happen, but just let it happen when it feels right. So for me, personally, it came down to inexperience and lack of confidence. But when I bought my first motorcycle, I felt like I could not take that thing on the highway. And it wasn't because I didn't feel confident in it. It was because I lacked confidence in the motorcycle and the people around me. And so I held myself back. I would not take highways anywhere. I wouldn't travel further than the city limits of where I lived. And it held me back for a lot longer than I would like to admit. So I kept waiting for the right time or the right opportunity to actually feel confident enough to ride further than where I'm used to riding. And it just kind of happens. I will say the person who got me to ride on an interstate for the very first time was a fellow woman who encouraged me to meet up with her for lunch one day. And so I took my little Honda Shadow 600 with 4 gears up on the 70-mile-per-hour interstate, and everything was fine. I was nervous, but there wasn't a right moment. I had a good opportunity and kind of a good excuse. When it comes down to motorcycle travel, I definitely held myself back. To me, and especially I feel like to a lot of Americans, I can tell you that mainly our quickest way of getting anywhere in this country is taking interstates. And so if you have a motorcycle that really isn't suited to do those speeds, taking back roads is kind of where you have to get around. And a lot of people have no issues with that. And I'm one of them. I love taking back roads, but sometimes you are on a time crunch and it is imperative to take these larger interstates. So for me, I let my father-in-law actually borrow my Honda Shadow for a few months, and I borrowed his Harley-Davidson Sportster 1200. And so having a larger displacement motor and a motorcycle that could handle those faster speeds a lot easier really opened my eyes to the type of travel that I was missing out on. It's not the fact that I waited for the right moment, but I had to wait for the right experience. Once again, you don't know what you don't know. And I am a firm believer of that. You can't just see yourself doing things that you've never imagined before. So after having the experience of borrowing a motorcycle that was capable of doing those things, it opened my eyes, and I ended up buying my first Harley Davidson, my Dyna, my beautiful Dyna. So that was the very first motorcycle I ever took a very long distance trip on. My very first long distance trip was, what was it? I'd say I rode about 80 miles round. No, 80 miles one way, and I went camping. But I was very unprepared for that camping trip, but that was in preparation to my very first out-of-state trip, which was 500 miles from Ohio to New York for Babe's Ride Out. I feel like you want to wait for the right moment. You want to make sure all of your ducks are in a row, but you don't have to, and you're just kind of wasting time if you feel like you need to do that. This next one it kind of goes back into the gear side of it, but please, please don't let anyone make you feel inferior or less cool or just embarrassing to be around if you choose to protect yourself on two wheels. I'm so happy and fortunate that motorcycle manufacturing companies, gear companies are coming out with a lot more cost-effective and a broad spectrum of sizes for people to wear proper gear now. I do really regret, thank God nothing happened, but I do very much regret letting fashion influence my riding gear when I was very first starting out. I remember riding my motorcycle in Chuck Taylors, shorts, and a 3/4 helmet. And I thought I was the coolest person on my little Honda Shadow because I was like, oh, look at me, I'm riding a motorcycle in Chucks and blah, blah, blah. And I look back on those photos now and I absolutely cringe. I absolutely cringe. I will say always ride your own ride. That includes the gear you want to ride in. If you don't want to wear a helmet, I'm not going to hold it against you. But if we're on the highway together and we get caught in a rainstorm and you have to pull over because you can't see, baby, I'm going to keep going because I chose to wear a full face helmet with a clear visor. Like, I am prepared to do the distance, basically. And I have done that, actually. I've been riding in a group and they had to pull over because they couldn't see. And I was like, peace. We all ended up at the same bar anyway, so it's not like I actually left them behind. But I will say, just if you want to ride in a t-shirt, if you want to ride in American Eagle jeans, that's your call. That's what I do. Sometimes I wear complete full gear, and then sometimes I feel like I just want to wear jeans and a t-shirt, as long as I protect my bases. And I get shit for this online all the time too. I always try to ride with the things that I cannot live without protected, and that is my hands and my head. And you can judge me on this as well, but if I have my hands protected and my head protected, skin grows back. Maybe not limbs, but skin, you know, like, it is just one of those things. I don't need to get into it because I know I have a lot of ATGAT people on here, but ride your own ride, do what you think is right, ride at your comfort level, and things are just gonna go swimmingly. If I could give any advice to anyone starting out right now, I will say, please get some education. Please get some education. I do know you have access to the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, the MSF courses. Harley-Davidson has really, truly stepped their game up in the riding academy. I personally could not take a Harley-Davidson class when I was learning how to ride because it was very expensive where I lived 10 years ago. Now I think it's less than $100. So check on your local Harley-Davidson dealership if you want to see what Riding Academy costs, and follow along with me on like social media or stuff, because I sometimes have promotional pieces and opportunities to gift riding academies, and it doesn't have to be to anyone. It doesn't have to be to a new rider. If you are following along on Instagram or Facebook and you win a free riding pass, you can give that to whoever you want to. You know, we are actually trying to give the gift of education. So please take an educational course. I will say the beginner riding course is mostly about operating a motorcycle, how to physically ride one and balance on one, and maneuverability. So it kind of has nothing to do with actually riding a bike. It's all about how to operate and maneuver said motorcycle. So taking any kind of advanced courses are 100% recommended, and just getting those miles under your belt. You know, you learn things that they can't teach in classes because the world is ever evolving and people are ever changing, and everyone in a car has one of these in front of them. So just assume everyone's actively trying to kill you. I wish someone told me that 10 years ago. Once again, please leave a comment down below if you have any information you would have given yourself when you first started riding, or have any information for new riders to give here. This is an open and safe space over on my channel. I genuinely do not care what you ride. If you want to ride a scooter, if you want to ride a big giant Goldwing, if you want to ride a three-wheeler, that makes no difference to me. We are all out there taking the exact same risks on 2 or 3 wheels compared to somebody being in a car. So think about the first bike you want to buy, think about your riding style and the people that you want to spend your time with, and think about how far you actually are willing to go on 2 wheels. When I very first bought my bike, I never in a million years thought I would be traveling literally all over the world on 2 wheels. I thought I'd be a little bar hopper and riding to the coffee shop every weekend. Boy, how 10 years can change somebody. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little yap. Once again, Happy New Year. And if you haven't done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. I try to do more 2-wheeled motorcycle travel versus just sitting here and talking to you on a camera. But yeah, I would really appreciate it. We're getting so close to 200,000 subscribers over here, and I can actually see how many of you are not subscribed watching this video. Until my next one, as always, you be good, ride motorcycles, and I'll catch you later.